Hi, my name is Olga Morazan, and today I would like to share some useful tips how you could teach conflict resolution skills in your classroom by using games and simulations, and in particular by using a game which was designed by a group of international educators. So the game is called the World Game. Let's start. Have a look on these pictures. What do you see? Think the last time when you felt like this. Now think about your students. In what situations, in the learning situation, have you seen your students reacting like this? Yes, of course. You could see these are reactions of positiveness, of happiness, excitement, adrenaline if you want, when it comes to activities that requires competition, that requires collaboration, that requires challenges and solving problems. Of course, this is about gaming, the games and how you could use during the classes. So let's try ourselves to play a small game which is called Trolley Dash. I will be the person to play and you will be the person to support me while watching this.
Welcome to Trolley Dash.
Yeah.
You have 60 seconds to collect everything on your shopping list. Finish in time and move to the next level.
So what is the task here? This is a great, very simple but great game that you will have a shopping list, you as a player, and you will have 60 seconds to get what is on the list. You have to remember these items from the list, from the shopping list. Then using the mouse or, I don't know, the arrows, we have to move the trolley to the right or to the left. And we have to click on the item we want to buy, and of course, according to the shopping list. And if we are right, it will fall into my trolley, I mean, our trolley. And if you can't remember what you can and you need to buy, we have to click again on the shopping list to read it again. But we have to be sure that we do not exceed 60 seconds. This is very important. So let's see how we have to play. Okay, how to play. Move your mouse left or right to control the shopping trolley. Click on the item you want to buy. If you are correct, it will drop into a trolley. Collect all the items on your shopping list to move to the next level. If you can't remember what you need to buy, click on the shopping list to read it again. Happy shopping. Yeah. So close and let's start playing. The only thing that you have to remember is that I would like to invite you is that you need to support me, and in case even it's virtually, so when I'm going to try to play, in case you see that I forgot a particular item, you could tell it. Yeah, so you are going to be my supporters. Okay, let's play.
You need to buy 6 red apples, a large loaf of bread, a carton of milk, a bar of foamy soap, a pair of yellow socks, a packet of chocolate biscuits.
Okay, so what I need to buy? 6 red apples, and you could see the picture, matching picture. A large loaf of bread, a carton of milk, okay, a bar of foamy soap, a pair of yellow socks, a packet of chocolate biscuits. Okay, let's go. Yeah, hope I remember it all. Okay. Yeah, so here is the soap. We move bread. Yes, quickly. Yellow socks. Okay, chocolate biscuits. Yeah. And it was something else. I think apples. Oh, milk. Where is milk? Apples. Yes. Oh, there has to be milk. Milk, yeah. Okay, Yeah, congratulations. You have done your shopping in time. Now go to the next level. We are not going to the next level, but we will come back to our presentations. And thank you for supporting me. So I tried several times playing this game, and together with my students, it was a very energetic atmosphere. And sometimes, you know, so the player was the person staying in front of the computer, the same as I was doing. The students were supporting him in order to and whispering sometimes the right item that he needs to collect, and not to forget about the shopping list, or not to miss any items from the shopping list. So I really hope that you enjoyed together with me and you supported me. So let's come back to our presentations, and I would like you to invite to recall from your memory now, from what, just to refresh your feelings while I was playing. How did you feel? You felt excited, yeah? You supported me and you wanted me to win, and to do it all the tasks, so the task accurately. And also, in case you observed that I missed something, you felt a little bit frustration that, you know, you are not able to help me and to support. So I would, beside the fact that the games are offering such kind of feelings, I would like you to concentrate also on the feeling which is called frustration, and discuss about something that the feelings, the negative feelings we might have in our life, in our everyday life, even though these negative feelings could help us become stronger and develop ourselves as personalities. So, yeah. We are going to discuss today about the conflicts and games, and we will try to combine these two things. So what is the working definition of the conflict? Conflict is considered by many people as a means, or as a thing that generates some power and energy besides the negative, but also constructive energy, if you want and if you can handle this misunderstanding. However, bad coping of conflict could lead to many issues and psychological problems and relationship problems with people. So this is a clash between two individuals or groups. Conflict is a disagreement or argument about something important. Of course, there are many other definitions, but per general, the conflict is misunderstanding and disagreement or argument that two people or three people or a group of people might have related to particular issues. So, when it comes to conflicts in schools, so they are mostly generated by the bullying. The bullying, which is a very common phenomenon nowadays in the schools, and they might be, the bullying could be like physical, when there is the process of hitting, hair pulling, breaking someone's things, pushing, tripping, stealing. The social bullying, when it is about telling other kids not to be friends with someone, excluding others from communication from the groups, and spreading rumors about this person. This is also a bullying. Verbal bullying, this is threats, teasing, hurtful comments, name calling. Cyberbullying, this is sending mean texts on the internet, prank calls on the phones, rude comments on the Facebook. Yeah, so these are mainly the general types of bullying and the conflicts that might appear in schools, and our students could be involved in. What is the reason? What comes into the mind of people? And what is the process of developing, of arising the conflict? So first of all, each person has his own emotions, his or her emotions, history, memory, judgment, habits, emotions, sensitivity, thoughts, experience. So a particular word could generate some negative emotions and generate some negative memories that of course it can all connected to previous experience of the person, so that it could generate big scandals and big misunderstanding, big fights. Yes. So while communicating with the person, we have to realize that each person has his or her own world, internal world, and a simple word, a simple, I don't know, thing, a simple action could generate different emotions, and different attitudes, and different reactions from different people based on the previous experience that the person might have. Okay, so types of conflicts. There are internal conflicts. These are the conflicts that you struggle that takes place inside a character's mind. So internal conflict, this is the conflict that is happening. Let's say you see in the picture, the person is on a diet, but she wants to eat, and there is a fight between and a willpower and between the emotions and comforting yourself, and another one is the willpower that you need to stop doing that. So this is the internal conflict, struggle that takes place inside the character's mind. Character's mind, this is the personality minds or people's or person's mind. External conflicts, this is a struggle between a character and an outside force. There might be one person and another person. I don't know, there are some situations about a person with a nature, yeah, just, when it is earthquake and a natural disaster. But when it comes to interpersonal, so this is character or the personality versus society or versus community. What are the consequences of the conflict, and what are the ways to resolve them? So I would like to invite you to watch a short clip that will explain that.
What is it about conflict that makes it so difficult to deal with, and how come good people can turn into such monsters in the face of conflict? The most common way of dealing with conflict is to avoid it. Some people walk away, others get really upset, wind themselves up and attack, and others just get sick or go on stress leave. In fact, it's amazing what people will do in order to avoid conflict and the emotional stress that comes with it. There is a very clever saying that goes like this: denial is not a river in Egypt. Denial is, however, one of the most common problems when it comes to resolving conflict. When confronted with a tense or difficult conflict, too many people smooth it over, bury their head in the sand, and the conflict goes on for another 1, 2, or 3 weeks, months, or even years in some cases. I want to introduce you to a definition of conflict and then give you a pathway for the resolution of conflict. Before I do, I want to say this. For some people, even the word conflict means warfare, dead bodies and blood on the streets, and it's very common for women and men to see anything less than that as not being in conflict at all. So this is a definition that starts at a very low level, because most conflict starts out as very small upsets and builds and grows into a full-scale battle. So here's the definition. Conflict exists when one person has a need of another and that need is not being met. Now, don't be fooled by the simplicity of this definition. The resolution of conflict starts from here, and the first step is to express the need. The second step is to find out if the need can or cannot be met. If the need can be met, then we have resolution. If it's a no, then we negotiate to resolve the conflict, or we go into the management of conflict. So here's the problem. Most people go straight from having an unmet need into the management of conflict, bypassing step 1 and step 2 because they are afraid and don't talk to the people who can do something about it. And that's not pretty. In fact, it gets quite ugly. So here's what the management of conflict looks like: sulking, withdrawing, getting sick, the silent treatment, backstabbing, gossiping, shouting, blocking, being aggressive, and getting angry. So the resolution of conflict starts with expressing your unmet need and then finding out if your unmet need can or cannot be met. If your conflict has escalated to the stage where it's too tough or sensitive or difficult to handle, then you really need to think seriously about involving a neutral third party to help you mediate the dispute, and we can help you out with that. For more information...
Okay, so there are two key words here. So the need that we have, and also the need that not met or unmet needs, and people that could help us in order to meet these needs, or just to understand the reason we feel the frustration on that. So yes, Okay, and then the denial as a strategy is not a good one, because strategy and conflict resolution strategy or skill, it's not a good thing, because avoiding the situation, the conflict situation, could lead in a very short time to a bigger problem when it comes to frustration and negative feelings and despair. And then you just get some illnesses and health issues. Yes. Okay. So what are conflict handling intentions? Or what are their coping, the strategies to cope with the conflict? Different people approach differently. Sometimes different approach or different strategy could be useful at the moment. Yeah. However, not, I mean, there are some of the strategies that we will discuss in a very short time, that you will see that applying these strategies could not be so efficient, and applying for a long time, I mean. So let's see, in describing and understanding what are the strategies, and what is the impact of these strategies, there are two things that should be considered. Concerns for others, so the way people are ready to cooperate with others, and whether to, I don't know, to help them and to step ahead towards their needs and the needs of others. And concern for selves. So for yourself, this is assertiveness, when you realize that I do deserve that, and I really want to do it because I need it. So, and it's an arrangement between low and high level, and the low, high level for concern for self. So let's see. When you have the low concern for others, so this is a readiness to cooperate with others, and also it's a low concern for self or assertiveness. One of the strategies, it is called avoiding. So the ones that was explained in the video under the term denial. So the person avoid the conflict. This is a good short-term strategy in some situation. If you see that the person is very much impulsive and it's aggressive, even better you a little bit avoid for a few minutes, and after that you come back and you start discussing with the person in order to explain, and that you do understand that his feelings, and you do understand why the person is aggressive. So of course it depends on from situation to another. Accommodating, it's the friendly helper, the person that is ready to cooperate and to satisfy and to meet the needs of the person he is talking, the partner in a relationship, but not thinking about himself, because assertiveness is low, but the cooperation is high. So accommodating, you accommodate your thoughts, your reflections, your emotions, so you accommodate to others' needs. Another one is competitive. It's tough battlers. So this is the person that is ready to battle and has a very high concern for self, and very small and low level of cooperation. Okay, and of course collaborating. This is a problem solver. The problem solver is the person that without, so with regard to his her own self and respect to himself, he also is ready to cooperate. So this is collaboration, and in order to solve the problems. The ideal strategy is called compromising. It's trying to find different negotiation, so different things, or I don't know, in decisions, in order to negotiate that each so each part has their needs resolved or met. Okay. So what is your conflict management style? In order to find out your conflict style, I have found for the teachers, I have found their short 5-item questionnaire or quiz that I would like to invite you to do together with me. The link you are going to find in the presentation. So besides this video, you will have the presentation link where you will find all the links of all the resources that I'm talking about today. Okay, find my style. What is your conflict management style? Okay, so When it comes to conflict, I believe it's important to keep relationships civil and associate happy. It's important to argue my case well to convince the other person of the merits of my position. I do my best to negotiate and give and take approach. Negotiate a give and take approach. Okay, so let's try the first one. I'm not going to think too much on that, but you know, while reading something, and in particular when it comes to a psychological test, each time, so you shouldn't think too much. The first that comes into your mind, this is the right answer for you. When I'm resolving conflict, I argue my case strongly if I see an obvious solution. If it comes to a standoff, I will meet people halfway. Friends and family are everything to me, so I often accommodate their preferences. Okay, let's think about standing strongly. In times of conflict, keeping the peace is my priority. I don't like tension. When I have bad feelings about someone, I keep them to myself. I gather as many facts as I can to keep the conversation productive. Okay, let's try this one. And in a conflict situation, my preferred response is to compromise and move past the discomfort. I'm calm and collected and usually leave as soon as possible. I enjoy digging into the issues to find solutions that work for everyone. Okay, yes, let's see. I describe my relationship with conflict as conflict makes me feel stressed and anxious. Often I enjoy conflict. It's challenging and allows me to engage my intellect. I approach conflict from both sides of the argument. What are my needs? What will work for the other person? What are the actual issues? Okay, so let's try this one. And now you are going to see what is the percentage, your top results. Yeah, so it's like 20-20. It's like whether you give up or you compromise or you pressure, you run away and you team up. So my profile is not so. I mean, I'm a little bit from all of the solutions. In order to find out more details, you will have the explanation. You click on more details, you'll find the explanation of what is given strategy. It's all about keeping the peace. So those preferring this conflict management style believe it's important to keep relations civil and associates happy. They don't like tension and are sensitive to the needs of others. You know, this cartoon, Russian cartoon with Leopold, when he was trying to make peace and to comfort everyone and saying, guys or boys, friends, let's be friends all together. So this is the same situation. There is strength, also weaknesses. So you could find out the description for all of the styles that described, that you have the description. In addition to this, you have the conflict resolution quiz, which is different. This is the first is psychological ones that we just have completed, but the second is based on the knowledge. I mean, it's the students are going to find out the correct answers themselves, so they are going to not to be graded, but they're going to complete the quiz and select the right answers. So graded, click on graded. Which of the following is something you can control? And you select A, B, C, D, I mean the students. You are going to have 10 questions. The students will have to pass to complete 10 questions. And after that, they are going to receive a short summary of their results and what answers were correct and what answers were wrong. So let's say, which of the following is something you can control? Feeling disappointed, disagreeing with your parents, yelling at your best friends, or a difficult classmate. I think that will be yelling at my best friend, so I can control that and I could stop yelling. Okay, and then you move to the next and the next and the next item. Good. So you're going to find these links in my presentation. Okay, next. We spoke so much about conflict resolution and the strategy that the person needs to apply in order to resolve the conflict efficiently. What are the skills that a person might need? The skills and capacities and the competencies that one person might need in order to resolve constructively and efficiently the conflicts. So these are the conflict resolution skills. For this, the person needs emotional intelligence. So this is called also EQ, not IQ, but EQ. So this is the ability to understand emotions and to express your emotions, and the readiness in some situation to express and to know yourself. Self-perception, this is the way you see yourself. So the way you realize yourself. This helps for, if you remember about assertiveness, the way to understand yourself and the way to represent yourself and to fight for you what you want. Empathy, the ability to understand others' emotions, others' feelings. So being sensitive in relationship. Active listening, actively listening their, your partner in communication. Communication negotiation skills. So this is, it's not enough only to be sensitive, you also, or it's not enough to listen carefully, but also you have to have the ability to communicate and to negotiate something. Rapport building, it's the ability to find common, to collaborate, the ability to collaborate in teams or to collaborate in peers, trying to find common needs and common points, the same points that you could do in order to achieve a particular task. It's rapport building. Critical thinking is seeing the problem from different point of view without judgment. It's just understanding and seeing it from different points of view. And of course, strategic and creative thinking, that's the ability to find the solutions for particular problem and using strategy, so mind, strategic mind, and also creativity, creative thinking. Okay, so one more time. What are the conflict resolution skills that the person might need in order to succeed in the conflict resolution and in communication? Emotional intelligence, self-perception, which should be not high but not low, it should be appropriate, empathy, active listening, communication and negotiation skills, rapport building, critical thinking, strategic and creative thinking. So the idea of it was a gap in everything that, in the process of teaching. I felt the gap, we felt the gap, a group of teachers. We do understand, we did understand that there is a need to help the students to succeed in conflict resolution skills, and in particular in helping them to communicate and to be efficient in communication. That's the reason under the International Innovation for English Language Teaching Fund, it was implemented, so it was a project which was financed by this fund, where 30 English teachers from Armenia, Azerbaijan, Georgia, Belarus, Moldova, and Ukraine worked together on designing 5 conflict resolution games and simulations to teaching English language at school. So of course, it should be with a focus, and the idea was not only to find out many other conflict resolution skills, but what will be brought, the games, the board games that will be brought into the classroom, into the English classroom, considering the English context. So at the end, 5 conflict resolution games were designed. One of these games was the New World game, a journey to discover America, or to explore America. So, and you could see in the pictures, there is their game set with the manual, with all the items that you need, and didactic materials for that. Yeah, you could see here a group of authors that were working on the presenting the game. So let's start. The idea of the game came up from one platform which is called scholastic.com, and scholastic.com offers a virtual trip about the first Thanksgiving Day and how it was celebrated, how it appeared to be celebrated, what happened before that, and that was celebrated by Native Americans together with the Pilgrims who just immigrated from England, so from UK. Okay, so let's see what I'm talking about. So scholastic.com is a platform where you could find wonderful resources for, and in particular when it comes to understanding and seeing virtually and in an animated version what happened and how people started celebrating their first Thanksgiving. So, of course, it started with a voyage on the Mayflower. The 1620 voyage from England to America was more than 3,000 miles, and best said by Autumn Storm, learn what it was like to live and work on a 17th century sailing vessel and relive part of this epic journey. So let's take the journey. Click on take the journey, and you will start. Here is what Great Britain. So they got ashore from Great Britain, and if you click, you could see here some stops here, some bubbles. If you click on the bubbles, you will hear, you will see the text, and even you will hear the short presentation what happened on a trip from Great Britain to Plymouth.
September 6, 1620. The Mayflower leaves England for North America. The ship's master, Christopher Jones, is an experienced skipper, but the 2-month journey will not be a smooth one.
Tighten that line. Watch out.
A crew of 30 men work the decks, adjusting the sails. While below deck, the Pilgrims rarely get a breath of fresh air, except to empty their chamber pots. Halfway to the New World, a violent autumn storm strikes. The ship begins to leak, and the main beam cracks.
Clear, watch out.
A passenger is thrown overboard, but catches a rope and is rescued.
Is everyone all right?
On the verge of turning back, the crew repairs the beam with a large iron screw the Pilgrims have brought from Holland. Leaks are plugged with caulk and a mallet.
The storm passes, but the ship has been blown off course. She is now far north of Virginia, where the Pilgrims intend to settle. They land at Cape Cod, Massachusetts on November 11th, after 65 days at sea.
Finally, the new.
By December, they will make their way to Plymouth, their new home, as winter sets in.
Okay, so besides that, you could see how did their ship look like in 1620. So tour the ship, click on that. You could have even the full screen. Yeah. So twin decks, and click on that, and you have the explanation and also the audio. So yeah, the audio file. Okay. Doesn't want to do it. It's okay. So let's try this one. Okay, so probably it's because on the internet. If you click on the audio, you are going, whether you could read or you could just see the parts of this ship. Okay, so let's imagine so they already arrived and they started having their daily life. Yeah, click on daily life. And here is the comparison between Native Americans, Wampanoag, and the Pilgrims, how they lived. When it comes to housing, let's say, and you could compare and you could contrast here. Yeah. So click.
Pilgrim houses were modeled after the English cottage. Timber frames with a steeply pitched roof that allowed for a small storage or sleeping area above the main room.
Okay.
Wampanoag families lived in weetus. The frame of a weetu was made of saplings bent into a circular shape. In summer, the frame was covered with woven grass. In winter, bark was used because it kept out the elements better.
Yes. Then the second, you could see, click on the second, you'll see another type of the house and another type, yeah, and just explaining here is also another type. How does it look inside, and the description, and what it comes to village. Yes, also cloths. You could find out the information about cloths and the differences between them, yeah. And also, I mean, in a daily life and while hunting, so, and there is the comparison of, yeah, you could see both men and women wear jewelry, which was crafted from available resources like stone, bone, wampum, which is clam shells, and so on and so forth. When it comes to, let's see, schools. Okay, let's try to see schools. Did they have any schools that time?
There were no pilgrim schools, but some children were given lessons in reading and writing by their parents.
The most important thing a Wampanoag boy learned was how to hunt with an atomp, or bow. A stone knife hung around the neck, a small pouch of nukeek, or ground corn, and his piton, or quiver of arrows, was all a man took with him on the hunt.
So beside the fact that you see the English words, you could find also the words in Wampanoagish language, and which will be interesting and for the students to find out what is the meaning of petan, yeah, petan, and here is the picture showing that. Okay, also about games and so on and so forth. Now it's the feast. So how does it, how did it happen that they started celebrating feast? And you have here a view slide show as well, and just explaining on the situation and why did they, what happened during the first winter and then the second winter. And if you click on view slide show, it will appear also some of the presentations about this this thing. Historical letters, so you'll see samples of letters of pilgrim people sending back to Great Britain. Yeah, let's say autumn 1620, a message from the Mayflower. So on the Mayflower, and you could use that also as a resource, whether to read it or just to listen.
Dearest Aunt Constance, you wondered what life in a ship would be like. I can now tell you I would trade my bed for yours in the beat of a heart. I sleep on a damp bed in a tiny cabin with mother and father. We are all packed in like so much cargo below deck. We do not know many of the other passengers, yet we live nearly on top of each other. Few of us have ever been aboard a ship, and there is much seasickness. The stench is most awful. I welcome the times when we...
So it's interesting to hear the pronunciation of which is in the accents, which is very Scottish. So of their the language which is spoken and of people that immigrated from Great Britain to Northern America. Yeah, and you could see the difference in the pronunciation as well, which is interesting. It's like and how the American language could be. I mean, it's differently pronounced. So this is the matter of authentic, which we really appreciated at the moment when we discovered this wonderful resource. And from that resource, we got inspired to design our own game, which was called the New World. So and basically that represents the life of pilgrims while immigrating from Great Britain to Virginia. I mean to Virginia. So let the game start. Basically, and I would like to introduce you in some of the stages that and some of the chapters of this game for you just to have an idea. You will find the resource of the game and the other two games at the end of these presentations with the manuals and all the steps presented. So basically the New World game is made of 10 chapters. The beginning is the moment when they decide to leave from their home and to leave Great Britain and to set sail on the ocean, to set sail for Northern America, for the New World. And they begin the chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5, 6, 7, 8, and epilogue. So basically there are 10 10 chapters. Yeah, so considering 8 chapters and plus beginning and the epilogue. Okay. Each chapter lasts between 15 and 45 minutes and consists of 4 stages. So each chapter could be interpreted or so-called as missions. The mission. The game master reads the chapter task from the captain's journal. Number 2, the teams accomplish the task within a certain time limit, while the game master monitors their performance and keeps track on time. Who is the game master? This is the teacher. Sometimes I used to play this game if there is a big group. So when I divided them, let's say, into 3 groups, so I asked some of the students to become game masters, and they were just helping me and assisting the group work and activity, the team activity, so the activity within their teams, the game master. So the role of the teacher in this situation was just to monitor how and to assist those game masters. Of course, the game masters needed a very detailed instruction, what they could do, what should do, how they could do. So there is a game master who is monitoring, who is setting the activities and starting the activities and offering the instructions in their during the chapter. After one of the teams has finished the task or the time run out, because there is a time limit, the game master checks the result of each team. So the team presents the result and explains the result, and finally the game master calculates the reward points each team should get, writes them down on the leaderboard. So this is, sometimes I use it, not the leaderboard, but the leaderboard was my blackboard, and gives the corresponding number of coins to the teams. So they were prepared with some of the coins, just paper coins, and for each answer, for each correct answer, they received points for that. Okay. So what is the background of this story? It's Europe 60-20. Where the pilgrims, who were the pilgrims and why did they leave England? Pilgrims were a group of people who were brave and determined. They sought the freedom to worship God in their own way. They had 2 choices, whether to conform to the king's religion or escape from England. They finally escaped to Holland. So they decided to escape, not to betray their religion, and they escaped to Holland. However, many were dissatisfied with the economic opportunities in the Netherlands, and under the direction of William Bradford, they decided to immigrate to Virginia, where an English colony had been found at Jamestown in 1607. So they decided to move, so it was like 1620 to move, to immigrate to the New World. So as you mentioned or you've heard, so there is a captain's journal that the captain's journal explains. So this is the captain of the ship of the Mayflower. So and he usually writes everything in his journal, and it's the basic of their, and the mission over everything what is happening during the game is based on the notes taken in the captain's journal. So the journey to the New World. Well, starting the game, to fill and to create the atmosphere, I usually use different sounds and different, sound specific, or the background specific for a particular context. For example, for this one, when you start explaining the game and starting setting up, so there is the beginning, you could have there a sound of the sea, yeah, as a background. And then start reading that it's September 6th, ES 1620 Anno Domini. You and your crew have set sail across the Atlantic Ocean to explore the unmapped territories and regions of the world, find new lands, and lay the foundation of a great new nation there. You are eager to find out what unexplored territories are hidden beyond the vastness of the ocean. On the first day of the journey, you start the captain's journal. There you intend to keep track of the most memorable events of the upcoming adventure. The journal also supposed to be used as an agenda, which includes the important tasks to be accomplished and the results expected to be achieved. After days and nights of sailing across the Atlantic Ocean, your crew catches a glimpse of an island in the blinding rays of the setting sun. You decide to head on for the land, and after a couple of hours, you arrived at the island's shore. However, as you set foot on this yet unexplored territory, you notice another ship approaching the coast. It seems that you are not the only one willing to explore the wild lands. Thus, the race for the new world begins. Okay, so you set up the scene and the background. Now everybody understands what it is about. So and then you invite the students you divide into teams. And you ask them in 3 minutes to describe, they have to write the words and expressions describing the feelings and emotions the players might experience both when leaving their home country and awaiting the adventures ahead. So they have to do this in 3 minutes in order to perform this, beginning chapter, which is called emotions. And after 3 minutes, each group will present the emotions and will explain why does it mean and what does it mean and why did they decide to write it, put it down and to present it as an answer. So express the feeling and explain the meaning of this feeling and emotions. As a reward, the game master counts the number of words and expressions on the list of each team and gives 1 point or coin to the team that compiles the longest list without any repetition. And if the team is able to give a meaningful explanation of why people might experience such emotions. So after each chapter, there is a rule that the teacher or the game master, it depends on the whether this is the teacher is the person who monitors and is the game master. So the teacher has to discuss together with the students how did they feel, what was difficult, what was easy for them while doing this task, and connect to the conflict resolution skills that they somehow strengthening during this activity. So when it comes to conflict resolution skills that we discussed previously, have previously discussed and nominated them, listed them above. So the ones that is connected to emotion, this is of course emotional intelligence and a little bit of self-perception, because it's the meaning of understanding their feelings, what is happening inside of their world and the emotional internal in their soul, and the things that is, I mean, in order to describe and to understand that the emotions really matters. Okay, another action is, another chapter is chapter 1, Sea Storm. So you move just to the next, from the beginning to another chapter 1, Sea Storm. The task is that each team will have to make a list of imaginary professions for each member, and they have to decide which through useful things or objects each member has to have with him or her for mastering the profession on a new world. So each person, so each team, let's say they're going to have 5 members, because the teams has to be, I mean, each team has to be a maximum 5 people, 3, 4, or maximum 5, but 5 sometimes is much. I mean, I sometimes divide them by 4 or 3, and that's what I mean is just the team is divided by 2 small the members, and in the team they have to decide and to have, like, if they are 5, that means they have to have 5 professions, and also they have to have 15 objects per total that they would need in order to master these professions in the new world. Okay, in a very short time, and so, yeah, before that, to facilitate this activity, I have the cards. So the game has the cards of different objects and jobs. So it will be easy just for them to select. And in some situation, there are some of the words that they don't know about their translation and the English version. So sometimes these cards may have some words for, let's say, for the smaller, for the younger children, for them to see how does the word is pronounced and what is the word, what is the translation for particular word, what is the name of the particular particular thing that they might be using for, might using for their job. Okay, now the second part of the chapter, Sea Storm, is telling them that they have to imagine that the sea storm has begun. And of course, for this, you will need to have a sound. So I usually use the sound, I mean, click on that. And there is a video showing them that the sea storm started, yeah? And just you know, allocate 2 or 3 seconds for them to see and to feel what happened in just the sea storm, and that the ship now is overloaded, yeah? So they will need to decide what will be their they will need to decide what they need to do in order to avoid crashing and to avoid the disaster. So that the ship, because the ship is overloaded, and it may crash into pieces, okay, and of course shipwreck. And what is their task is now within the team, they have to discuss the potential benefits each profession and the object that the profession has with, I mean, corresponding object or objects can bring while conquering new lands, and decide who or what should be thrown overboard to make the ship lighter so that it can reach the coast. So one more time, now they have many objects, imaginary objects, and there are so many on the boat, so they have to decide that they need to throw overboard something or someone, and they need to decide how important is the job and the object that they have created or they have selected for the new world, because there has to be something thrown overboard, thrown away. You could throw maximum 3 objects and 3 professions, or any 6 objects or 6 professions, so the maximum. So they, what is the idea? They have to decide that now they have to negotiate with another team, and they will need to make a compromise on the objects that, or people that they would prefer living on the boat, and the others that they are going to throw overboard. When they do, of course, you could allocate, like, I don't know, a short time for that, let's say 10 minutes, when they will debate and they will negotiate and they will try to argue their point of view, and will try to find a compromise, and then they present their decision to the game master, explaining the reason for a choice of remaining objects and professions. The game master offers 1 point for each reasonable explanation, okay? So another chapter, oh, sorry, when again, after each chapter, there is a need for follow-up. You have to discuss with the students, how did they feel, what was easy, what was difficult for that, how different people reacted, was it efficient, the reaction and the activity of different people, why is it so, why not, and relate to the conflict resolution skills. What were the conflict resolution skills that they developed or they strengthened during this activity? Of course, it was about empathy, so understanding the emotions and the experience and the feelings of the other people, active listening, because they needed to actively listen, and in order to get to their arguments that the other team would bring for their objects or people, communication, negotiation skills, and of course they needed to have a rapport building. But most of this is communication, negotiation skills, because they needed to come up with a particular situation and particular solution. So in order to negotiate and to compromise the offer, to compromise in order to get good results, I mean the final good result that will meet everybody's needs. It's very important for the students to derive, to understand that, and they will be people just to tell you what are the skills that they developed. So that's very important. After each stage and after each chapter, you have to discuss with students about this. Okay. Chapter 2, it's build the house. Now that the people are settled, they already arrived on the shore, they already on the Plymouth. So their task will be also working in teams. They will have 7 minutes for each team to use maximum 20 objects from their own bags, pockets, even surroundings. If it's in the classroom, there could be books, I don't know, tables, desks, chairs, everything they could find available in the room, in order to build the house with conveniences for all members, all team members. That's important. So each member, if there are 4 or 5, they have to consider that each member has a specific place, and they have to build it into, to construct it and to build it using, authentic resources that they could find in the room, in the classroom. Yeah, so they have for these 7 minutes. The reward is, so they present after that, and the game master checks the house construction strength and listen to the presentation of each team regarding the living condition, because winter is coming, and if there is no kitchen, you have to ask them. If there is no heating, so you have also to ask them in order to explain. So just then sometimes you could, while they present, while they construct, while constructing, you could approach and just suggest them as a game master that they have to consider all of the conveniences that will help team members to survive. The team with the strongest and most enduring house with best living condition for a family earns 2 points or points. Sometimes, so this is the game rule, but I prefer offering for each team member, because they were very creative. I usually offer for each team member 1 coin. Okay, you could find out so many interesting and innovative and creative ideas that you just you would get surprised. And I will tell you honestly, I tried to play it with different ages, and it was, and even starting from primary students to, and I adapted a little bit, of course, the context, till the adults. So we, even with the adults, so it was very funny, and they responded adequately, and it was very creative. So people like playing games. Okay, again, you have to discuss about what was the, what were the feelings, how did they feel, what did they do, what was difficult, how did they solve, how did they resolve it, and the connection. Again, you have to connect with the conflict resolution skills. Here is the matter of active listening, again, communication, negotiation, rapport building, critical thinking. They were thinking, I'm not sure about negotiation, but I think it's rapport building more, and critical thinking and strategic and creative thinking. They were thinking, but they need to resolve the problem. So they didn't need to communicate, to negotiate with someone. They needed just to find the common point. So this is rapport building. Okay, another one, so I'm going to skip some of these stages. These stages, you could find like the game, and they have to invent their own game, and then something more. So I just selected a few of the chapters that might be interesting for you, just to make a short introduction for you, just to, or to tease you in order to prepare exploring and discovering this book and using this during your classes. Community development. So this is chapter 7. First, you need to brainstorm 10 infrastructure points the new community may have. So infrastructure points might be what? School, I don't know, post office, prison, kindergarten, the church, marketplace, and so on and so forth. Each team will have to design a map of their own, of this new community from 10 infrastructure points, taking into account their needs as settlers, occupation, risks, etc. Time limit for that, there is 10 minutes. Of course, sometimes you may allocate, if you see that it's not enough, you could allocate them 15 minutes. But the idea is that they will have to draw a map, which they will have to arrange these infrastructure points into particular places. And but that should be a reasonable explanation, a reasonable setting, architectural explanation. And let's say the prison, if there is a prison, couldn't be next to the ocean, because the prisoner might escape and might I don't know, jump into the ocean and might escape out of the prison. The police office couldn't be, let's say, near their church, or it could be. So they have to decide what is their infrastructure and how it is in order to be much more functioning for them. So they're designing their own community. The reward will be, the game master awards 4 points, so points to the team with the most reasonable community design, making sure that all the infrastructure points have been used during the time given. Of course, there are some prepared cards for that. So you even have the map, and you ask people just to use the cards and to place the cards in the way they would prefer, so in order to design their own map. Extra 2 points or coins will go to the team or teams with the best argumentation and presentation of their community design. Again, after this activity, you have to make a follow-up, and you have to ask the students to describe feelings, emotions, behavior, and connect to their conflict resolution skills. So in this situation, this is again rapport building, creative, strategic, and creative thinking as well. Another chapter is called the epilogue. The epilogue is code of laws based on the professions that they have selected in the previous chapters: crafts, construction, education, etc. They have to create 3 laws for their community, most relevant to their occupation domain. And then they will need to convince other groups in maximum 2 minutes to include as many of their new laws as possible into the community constitution. After that, all community members need to negotiate and vote for a maximum of 10 laws they consider most relevant and useful for the community. So they are going to design, to create their own constitution. A very important thing here is that if in the previous tasks they were competing, now they have to collaborate in order, so together the teams have to collaborate in order to design a common, unique, and unified document that will be the result of their work during all of the stages or chapters that they have done. Okay, again, so you could prepare programming, and you could ask them to write all the posters, to write their own constitution or their own laws and laws of conduct. And after that, so having these laws as a unique for this big community, so for the class. And of course, you could calculate the winner, you could offer some prizes for that, and so on and so forth. The most important is again the follow-up. So besides this energetic spirit of gaming, there has to be all the time follow-up, and just ask people, again, the students, to reflect upon their experience. What was this experience about, and what did they get from this experience, and what is the connection of the skills, conflict resolution skills that they developed and while doing this task. And sometimes these reflections could be done by the means of, or through their reflexive journal, when you ask the students to reflect upon their experience in writing, or I don't know, using blogs or posters. It's up to you to decide. Digital tools, it's up to you to decide how do you want to have this written. But it's important for students, whether this is orally or written, they have to reflect upon the experience and how this experience may help them succeed in something in future, how they are going to use this experience and knowledge that they get, or their understanding, the new understanding, to the future, in the future life, for them to succeed, I don't know, in everyday life, not in career, but in everyday life, starting from this one. So another this is all about the world game. Of course you could find it, but you see here is the cover of this game. If you click on that, you will find out the link of their manual, and with the detailed explanation of the chapter stages, materials they could find, and so on and so forth. In addition to this, I promised to share with you two other games, which is called Bodies and Hidden Treasures. If the new world is much more connected about conflict resolution and the skills that they might be used, I mean, within the English context and culture and civilization, exploring the culture of Northern Americans, so and well, discovering Northern Americans, so North America. So it's these ones, Bodies and a Hidden Treasure, it's much more about language itself. So there may be describing adjectives, some tasks, and this is much more, it looks like ordinary game, board game, with rods and with all this traditional things when it comes to board game. However, the content and the task are very creative and very ingenious, and of course, besides the fact that it's connected to, I don't know, adjectives, or I don't know, some of the tasks related to language structure, but the rules are interesting and very entertaining. So I challenge students to whether it's working teams or not, so it's interesting. I do remember one that if you count and you fall into the wall, you have to wait somebody that will save you. And we had the situation when students didn't want to save the person that was in the well. So why? Just because and so the person that is in the well, he needs to convince and to negotiate with others in order to explain that he really needs to be part of the game. So it's an interesting process. I do encourage you to use this information and to explore and to accept this challenge in order to explore it at maximum and use the resources in your school and during your classes, because students really like it. How you could do this for the new world? For the new world, you could, because there are 10 missions, you could do it during 10 weeks, and that means during one semester you could extend it, and you have this 20 or 30 minutes during the, so it depends on you how you could how you could organize this game. It's not a short, it's not a short one, short term, it's a long one, but it's a continuous process for the students to get involved and to find out many interesting things about culture, American culture, and of course you could connect to everyday life, what is going on nowadays, and what traditions were preserved from the previous time to I mean medieval time to what is going on nowadays. Okay. So, and at the end, I would like to thank you very much for the fact that you had the power and the will to resist and to be together with me during this webinar, and hope to hear many interesting things from you. Well, you after you try to use and to apply this games into your classroom. Yeah, wish you good luck. Thank you.